Welcome. I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. We just got some new information on the new changes that are coming in this next update, update 4.2. It's gonna be good. I don't remember the last time I said that. This is gonna be good changes. So obviously we all are aware of the dungeon keeps. I've talked about that for 2 days. That are going to be changes. In addition to the dungeons, something I missed actually when I was rereading it, the affinity potion keeps are also going to be increasing. So all those are going to get an extra 5 levels, which is great. I do anticipate these new dungeon levels to be a lot harder, at least harder. I don't know how much. So that's probably going to be a bit of frustration for the community as far as trying to farm it. We've all established that. But I don't really want to talk about that today because while that is coming in the next update, there are also going to be some champion balances. They're balancing a lot of the Void champions, and these are great balances. Now, I'm not super familiar with all of these champions, but I'm familiar with enough of them to know that these look like really good moves and in general just buffs across the board. So I'm actually really excited about this. So what I want to do today is go over the champions that are getting changed, go over some of the AI fixes that are happening, and let's look at that. This is exciting. Okay, guys, so with these Void champions, so they did a Void rebalance, champion rebalance, and it's not just skills getting buffs, also there's some reworked skills. All of these that I've seen seem to be positive. I want to go over them really quick. There's not that many champions, which is easy for me, at least on this video. But first one is Visix unbowed. So this flanged mace, right? It has an 80% chance to decrease target turn meter by 15%. It's actually going to be buffed up to 15%. It's 10% here. It's going to be buffed up to 15% with each hit, which is great. So that's a pretty significant turn meter reduction right there. Her A2 skill, Sinister Allies. This is going to be redesigned. It's no longer place a shield, but instead place ally protection buff on all allies for 2 turns. That's a really good addition. I think that making her an ally protection champion is a nice move for her. If she still keeps that decreased speed, which I believe so, it doesn't mention it one way or the other, then that's going to be actually a really nice skill, especially for dungeon work. And this last skill here, single combat, it's redesigned, so it's going to attack all enemies instead of just one, placing a provoke on all of them. So it looks like they moved the ally protection buff from here, from this A3 skill to the A2 skill, and took off the shield, and they moved the shield from the A2 skill to the A3 skill here with the provoke, and then they made that provoke an AoE on everybody. That's pretty good. AoE provoke is always strong. Getting a shield on yourself when you do it is nice, and the ally protection on the other skill, not to mention the increased turn meter decrease, the speed stuff, I think that's all really, really nice. It's kind of like a budget coronar if you can get some counterattack in there by being able to decrease turn meter on each one of those A1s. If you get some counterattack off of that provoke, that could be really, really strong. This is a really nice change for Visix. Now, I'm not sure where we're going to use her exactly. I still think she's probably primarily a dungeon champion, but you're going to see her being very viable in areas of the game, including clan boss and everything else, I think. Anytime you have someone that can do ally protection, it makes them viable. So that's Visix. Now, the next champion we're going to look at is Warlord Frost King, the meme himself. We were all, when they had the battle pass, it was a year ago now. This was the free legendary champion we were able to get at the end of it, and he was pretty underwhelming. I've used him a fair amount in Clan Boss. He's not a bad champion, even as he is right now. He can hit decently hard. He brings some unique buffs and debuffs to the game, but he's not very good. He's definitely not like, a legendary level champion. Definitely not a Void legendary champion. Well, now I think he's gonna be, and they made some interesting changes. So first off, Winds of Winners A1. This effect adds a veil buff. So the way it is right now, it puts a perfect veil on an ally with lowest HP if the freeze is placed. Well, now we'll also place a veil buff on that ally if the freeze is resisted. In addition, the duration of this perfect veil instead of 1 turn will be 2 turns, which is good. This is still kind of a mediocre skill, but it's always nice to have that freeze on the A1. It's a pretty solid skill, just in general, hits decently hard, but at least you're getting a veil regardless. The next skill, Frostbite Blast, this has an interesting effect. I really like this. Has a 70% chance of placing a decreased crit damage, right? And increased crit damage on your allies Well, now it will also place a decreased accuracy debuff in addition, and these debuffs can't be resisted. That's really nice. That means you no longer have to build, if you don't care about the freeze on the A1, you don't have to build accuracy on them at all, because those are the only skills that take any accuracy. It gives you a lot more options as far as how to build him. Not to mention, decreased accuracy is really nice when you're going against dungeon waves. You're less likely to take damage from your, or get debuffed by the enemy. So that's really good. But the thing I'm most excited about, guys, is Ice Grave Armor, because they reduce the cooldown of this to 5. So you can see right here on mine, it says 4 turns, and it's because I have both of these booked here. This is now going to become a 3-turn cooldown to get an AoE strengthen and increase defense buff on all allies. This makes them very viable for clan boss, very viable for a lot of stuff. But having that cooldown reduced is huge. You no longer have to run them at a 4-3 ratio. Previously, if you wanted to use Whirlum in a clan boss team, you had to run them about like 230 speed or so, like somewhere between like 225 and 240, depending on the rest of your team. Now you don't. Now you can really build him out to deal damage, to hit hard, to be tanky. There's a lot more possibilities that come as a result of this. These are 2 very important debuffs that you get. The other interesting thing about this is we have a lot of champions in this game now. A lot of them, which is good, that will bring in decreased attack, but aren't tied to being like a solely decreased attack champions. I'm thinking about champions like Aox, like Fane, that are going to be able to not only, bring other things like poisons or, decrease defense, but they're also bringing decreased attack. Well, the problem is you usually are struggling to find someone that's going to bring in increased defense to pair with them. Well, Whirlum all of a sudden becomes that champion. But actually, I know a great champion he's going to pair with as we go further along, because there's more champions that got reworked. This is so cool, guys. This is really cool. You can see Solus here. There is an increase to the base speed there. There's a lot of stuff going on with this. Base speed jumps up 10 points, which is huge. His defense is getting increased. Now, I'm guessing that this is off here. I don't have Solus, so I can't pull him up on my account. But if I can find him here, I want to say Knight Revenant. Is that right? Yeah, there we go. So Knight Revenant. So my guess is his defense. I really don't know what this is, the increased defense and the increased attack. I'm not sure what that's referring to. My guess is that's a misprint of something. But basically, base stats, his speed's going up, his defense is going up, and his attack is going down. Those are good things. He's a defensive-based champion, so that's positive. The other thing is this Wave of Despair and Reign of Terror. So Wave of Despair, Reign of Terror, both these skills, the multipliers are being just slightly changed to adjust for that increased defense. But basically, he's just getting a buff to his base stats. That's a good thing. Definitely a good thing. The speed part especially is really good because that makes him really hard to use. The next champion on this list is Exemplar. Exemplar, so high stance. Let's look at these skills here. High stance. Now, I use Exemplar as a stun target for the clan boss. I think Exemplar makes a very good one because she has low base defense, high attack, high base HP, or at least, solid, to make as a stun target for the budget unkillable. I've recommended that a fair amount. She can also hit decently hard. So I'm really interested to see what these changes are. First, if the first hit's critical, it will increase the target's skills cooldowns, chosen at random by 2 turns. If the target's under a weakened debuff at the same time, it'll increase the cooldowns to maximum. So this obviously is going to have no impact on clan boss, but does make her more viable just using her as a debuffer in various parts of dungeons and Doom Tower. Interesting thing, right, about the Iragoth, that Bone Dragon. You can increase the cooldown skills of their kit while you're going against them. Exemplar might be an option to bring in. She's going to be hard to keep alive, but it might be an option to bring in. Another one we have is Pincer Attack, the second skill, right? Debuff increases to 75%. So basically, this will book to 100% chance to land that weakened debuff. That's important. That's good. That needed to happen. I'm really glad they're making that change. I think that's great. And the Capture skill, the cooldown's going from 5 turns to 4. That means it'll be on a 3-turn cooldown when you fully book her. Mine's not fully booked because I didn't see any reason to fully book it. But that's really great. That means the freeze debuff will land single target, block cooldown skills, put the freeze on. That's good. This is going to make her much more viable for pretty much every area of the game. Whenever you can reduce those cooldowns, that is key. So I think that's great. Now, one of the ones I'm most excited about is Rowan. Blade Surge debuff chance increased to 75% from up to 50%. That means this Blade Surge, where these poisons go, when you book it out, it'll be a 100% chance to land all 4 poisons. Finally, this is going to make her much more viable for Clan Boss. Now, I do have to put a little spoiler out there about Rowan. I've recommended her a bunch as a stun target for the slow boy, for the budget unkillable team. And just in general, in Clan Boss, I think she's a pretty decent champion. There is an issue with her AI, and I didn't realize it for a while. I was kind of let known by a few people. She's still really good, but she's not nearly as good as she should be because she's only going to use this A1 skill until heal reduction is actually applied. That's an issue because this is easily her weakest skill. It's only a single attack, so it's not a multi-attack skill, so she doesn't benefit from Giant Slayer as a result of that. They need to fix that. I've let Plarium know. I just passed that message on to Banana Jam. Hopefully they get that fixed soon. I'm a little disappointed that this wasn't caught before the AI fixes were implemented because that would be a really nice one. Hopefully they can do something about that because that kind of defeats the purpose of Rowan and Clan Boss, which is unfortunate because she can be really, really good. But this still is a great, great change. Being able to land those debuffs 100% of the time is really nice, so I definitely think that's going to be a good thing. Now, we have another champion that I have somewhere, but have never built out because they were never very good. So we're going to take a look at the kit for the first time, talking about Towering Titan here. Now, Towering Titan is designed kind of as an AoE champion, right? Decreased defense on the A1, provoke on the A2, increased defense and healing on the A3 shield, and then gives some of his damage to Cagebreaker when they're on the same team, right? So kind of provoke champion, right? Not really designed to do a ton of tanking, but anyway, it's an HP champ, attack based skill. Well, that's changing. Now the damage on Splitter is going to be HP based. That's huge. We can finally stack HP on these guys. This A2 attack. Okay, so damage is on HP. Thank you. Attacks are going to be 4 times at random still. But the first provoke will be placed on the first hit. And then each additional hit will have a 50% chance of placing a provoke afterwards. So you're going to at least get 1 provoke guaranteed, assuming you have the accuracy for it. So that's a really good addition. And then Bullish Vitality here. The shield duration increases to 3 turns, which is great. No problem there. And when ascend, the skill will grant this champion extra turn. That's actually really big. Getting an extra turn off of that skill is really nice. So, wow, that's huge, actually. So, this is a 5-turn cooldown. Books to 4 will give you an extra turn. That means it'll become, in effect, a 3-turn cooldown. And then on top of that, you're going to have this provoke. This books to a 3-turn cooldown. It's going to be it'll end up being, in effect, a 2-turn cooldown on that. So, yeah, this is really nice. Being able to get that extra turn, I think, is actually a really big addition to that. This shield is going to be pretty large, 30% with an extra 30% of that on there. So you're talking about, what is that? 39% of his HP is going to be his shield. That's really nice, actually. So that's a pretty solid shield he's going to be placing on himself with a continuous heal and increased defense for all allies. He might be a very viable champion in a couple areas of this game. So that's actually really good. The HP base is really big. Now we're going to get to my favorite one. This is my favorite one. I cannot believe they're making this change. And I was like, why are you touching Sawai? Sawai's perfect. Don't touch Sawai. She's an amazing champion. Why would we change her? Okay. I part of me still feels that way. Part of me doesn't care anymore. Utter Rampage is her A2 skill. Now, this is a skill that kind of makes her such a great damage dealer because she hits once, and then if it crits, she'll do an AoE with the second hit. It's redonkulous how effective that is and how much damage it does. Even though it doesn't crit on the second hit, it's still a huge damage dealing attack. Well, that's changing, it looks like. So it says skill reworked. Attacks all enemies and then has a 75% chance of placing a 50% attack debuff with a 4-turn cooldown. And you can see the skill upgrades here. Basically, they just replace a couple of the damage modifiers, and they don't reduce the damage. They just, make the first 2 10%. It books again to a 3-turn cooldown, and it books to 100% chance to land that decreased attack. We now have another champion that has decreased defense, weaken, and decreased attack all in the same kit. That's huge. That's going to make Clan Boss so much easier. It's going to make all areas of the game a lot easier. When you can bring in one champion that can do all those things, that's a big thing. And the thing is, Suai is got to be one of the best champions to have that rework on. Not only does she have good multipliers, right? But she has good base stats. That base attack is solid, 1,300. Her base defense is over 1,000. That means you can still build her defensively tanky. As you can see, I'm still, moving stuff around as always. But you can still build her tanky for a traditional clan boss team. Not to mention she's great for an unkillable team. That is one of the best reworks I've seen in a while. The question is, how much of the damage are we going to lose? Because a lot of people use her for clan boss, myself included. Maybe because I like to promote her because I think she's really good. So the question is, how much damage are we losing in exchange for this debuff? I don't know offhand, but what I do know is she becomes very viable for a lot of people in a lot of areas of this game. That's going to be really nice. The other thing, deaden reaction, the cooldown is reducing from 5 turns to 4. That means when booked, this will be a 3-turn cooldown. We get to use this skill. It's all on a 3-turn cooldown. You no longer have to run her fast in order to have all of her skills all the time. This is great. I mean, this is just really, really good. She's going to be a monster in Clan Boss with a counterattack champion. It's going to be really, really nice to have a champion like her. You no longer have to worry about having any decrease attack champions. So here's what I want to do. I want to take Suai, I want to take Warlord, and I want to just put them in my Clan Boss team. It's going to be great. It's going to be great, guys. These are really nice additions to the team, to the game. I think that's going to be really great. So yeah, that's really great. We've got Broadmaw here. Oh man, I didn't prep Broadmaw. She might be in my vault right now. Not somebody I typically use. So Broadmaw is an interesting champion. So if we look at her changes, so Hail, Broadmaw? Oh, Ice Blast. It must be Ice Blast that they're talking about when they call it Hail. So the debuff chance is increased to 35%. That's good. I think that's good. It was a really low chance for that to land. She wasn't much of an epic champion, honestly. You basically used her in Faction War and that was it. Now this might give her a chance to be used elsewhere. So that's good, I think. Gift adds a 15% turn meter buff as well. That's great. So not only are you getting increased crit rate, increased speed of 15%, but you're also getting an increased turn meter boost of 15% too. That makes her a lot more viable in a lot of areas of the game. That small increased speed buff wasn't really very significant, but you give a turn meter boost with that, that becomes a really significant change. And Resurrect skill, the cooldown's going to 6 turns from 7. So when booked, it's going to be a 4-turn cooldown. That's a major effect. And actually, I don't know outside of... That's really interesting. Because outside of Raglan, I don't know any champions that have a revive skill. I guess Raglan and Sify are the only ones that I know of that have a revive skill that's shorter than 5 turns. Pretty much everybody else, it's on a 5-turn cooldown, right? Some of them are even longer, but making Broadmaw as a 4-turn cooldown puts her in really unique company. Raglan can revive every other turn, and Sify can revive every 4 turns. Pretty much everybody else that I'm aware of is like at least a 5-turn cooldown. So I might be missing a champion or two, but that still puts Broadmaw into pretty rare company there. That's a really nice buff. Broadmaw, I've always looked at Broadmaw as kind of a trash champion. I can't say that anymore. She's good. She's definitely got some skills, something you want to bring in. Oh, increase the ally defense in Faction Wars. Well, that's great because that's pretty much the only place I use her. So that's not a bad aura change too. So instead of arena battles in Faction Wars, I think that makes a lot of sense actually. Beardall. So we've got defense increase and HP slightly increased on the base stats. Well, the HP was already pretty low, so of course the defense was incredibly low. So that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I don't know if that's sounds like a bit of a wash. Ensorcelled Axe, right? Skill upgrade adjustment. So they're changing the upgrades on it just slightly. So basically increasing the damage. They're increasing the damage and increasing the debuff chance. So the damage is going to stay the same. Sorry, it's still 10% boost. but they're going to make it a 30% buff to that. So each hit's going to have a 60% chance of landing heal reduction. That's good because that'll actually make it a viable thing that they could land. As it was before, it was 40% chance. Is not very, very effective. So that's a good change, I think. And then Fate Protection, effect added. So they're adding a 75% chance of landing decreased defense if the target's already under heal reduction. So they're starting to link those skills. I think that's fine. Nothing of it is changing other than adding a decreased defense to it. That's actually really good, especially if you consider that he places a counterattack buff on himself every turn. That's really good. Being able to put that decreased defense on a target is good because now all of a sudden, when he counterattacks, it's going to have an effect. So I think that's actually a really good thing. That's going to make him a lot more viable. Then we've got Whisper here. Whisper, I got mine over here at level 50. Softening Drive. So also going to add an increased crit rate to this skill. I think that's really, really good. I do have a level 60 Whisper somewhere here too, which is funny that I didn't pull her out. But regardless, so it's going to make it a level. This is going to make it still the 50% chance of landing or 75 when booked of landing the weekend, but also will add an increased crit rate, which is really important because her critting is really crucial to a lot of her skills. If you look at Charged Assault, is that which one is it? Where is it? This has a 10% chance of granting an extra turn whenever this champion lands a critical hit. So getting a crit rate buff on that A1 is a really nice addition to this champion, I think. It doesn't. I don't know that changes how you want to build her. If you would still want to build her with less crit rate or not, but that's really good. I think that just like ties into it really nicely. And then the other thing is this Unyielding Fury. It's going from 6 turns to 5 turn cooldown. So that's good. Once you get it booked out, it'll end up being a 4 turn cooldown. And if you can reliably keep decreased defense and weaken on the enemy, that'll give you an extra turn automatically, which will make this a 3 turn cooldown. So that's really good. I think these are great changes for her. So yeah, those are the champion changes. Now we do have some AI improvements as well. I probably should go over. So Sify the Lost Bride, she's going to prioritize her Whirlwind skill. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Her Whirlwind skill, this is against Clan Boss, is the one that gives you the speed buff. If you're using her in Clan Boss, you want everything tuned. And if we don't prioritize that skill, that's going to be a major, major problem because everything's going to get thrown off. So that's a good addition, good change for sure. Tyrant Ixelmore is getting a change. If you guys know Tyrant has a lot of really good stuff on his skill. But the big one is this Hellfire Torrent, which places the HP burn. He wasn't using it if it was already on the Clan Boss, which is causing some real issues. Prioritizing that will mean that skill is the one that's going to get used. Now, Infernal Minion still has the same AI restrictions as before. If he already has increased defense and ally protection on himself, he's not going to use that skill. But that's something we can navigate a lot easier than the Hellfire Torrent. So that's good. If this is being regular, that means all these skills will be on a 3-turn cooldown. You can now tune this champion really well for your Clan Boss teams. That's a great addition. Shatter Bones is going to prioritize his Hail skill, which is good. I think this is against the Fire Knight, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see if I can find my Shatter Bones here. Not fully leveled at all. I don't, as you can tell, don't use them. But he is going to be, so his Hail skill here, it's a triple attack. That's why you want him to use that. And it also gives you that decreased turn meter, 30%. So it's definitely the skill you want him to use. I don't think as much as Warcry is good, Hail is the one that should be used when it comes up against the Fire Knight. So that makes sense. Seems like a simple change. Scylla the Drake is going to prioritize her Wing Buffet. This is probably the one that's going to have the biggest effect on people because most people use her. Okay, yeah, Scylla the Drake, she's going to get a buff for this Wing Beat Flurry, the one that does the AoE stun. That's going to get the prioritization for her if there's 2 or more enemies alive. So that's great. Basically, as long as there's not just one person there, she's going to use that. I think that just makes sense. Mountain King's going to prioritize targets with the block deep damage force when using his Regal Force skill, so that's a change that's being made. One of my favorite changes, actually, is going to be Warlord. He's no longer going to use Orcish Rituals. This is great. In Clan Boss, I should say. That's huge, because it's completely useless in Clan Boss, so that's a really, really nice buff. That's going to make him actually viable in Clan Boss. This is something where we haven't used him in Clan Boss basically at all, because he just wasn't viable. Now he is. This block, debuff, and shield, you can time that now, which is great. You can also use this bludgeon. It's going to be more consistently. He's going to be using that A1 skill with the 40% chance of increasing the duration of all debuffs. So I think he's actually going to be pretty viable for Clan Boss. As when I first got him, I was super excited to use him. And I was like, nope, can't. He's just not good. He uses Orcish Ritual. He only gets that one attack. He doesn't use it often enough. It wasn't making any sense. Now I think it does make a lot of sense. Robar is going to use Wild Swing when there's only one enemy alive, so he's still going to use that attack. Tyrell, this is an interesting change. This is not one that I think is actually good. It's arguable whether this is good or not. Now, Tyrell has this Humble skill. He's going to prioritize it against the Fire Knight, right? Whenever the Cloak of Shield is active. So that's good, right? It's the only multi-attack skill he has. And him prioritizing that is really nice. I think that's a great thing. Because his other two skills you want to actually land, the decreased defense and the turn meter reduction. So this is a good thing. That's definitely positive. The next part is a little bit more debatable. He'll no longer use his preemptive strike skill in clan boss battles. Now, part of me is like, this is a good change. You can't reduce turn meter, you can't stun. There's kind of no point to use this skill against the clan boss. However, the flip side of that is, it's the hardest hitting skill he has, and it hits very, very hard. So taking that away isn't really, I don't think, is actually a good thing. Part of that has to do with his A1 is so effective, he lands decreased attack pretty consistently as it is. I don't think you actually need to give him more opportunities to land that. And his Singing Steel skill is still on a 4-turn cooldown. So you're not really missing out. When I ran Tyrell, I'd always have him go A1, A2, A1, A4, and that would be the cycle of the skills he'd use. It will make it more consistent, him keeping the decreased attack down, so you'll be less likely to wipe because you just got some bad RNG. So that part's good. It's just going to be a bit of a damage mitigator, or damage reduction, I guess, for him and Clan Boss. So it's a little disappointing, but at the same time, it's not, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Like, it was kind of a useless skill, and you're going to be more consistent in your runs because you're going to have your debuffs up consistently more often. So, it's a little bit good, a little bit bad. I say take it with kind of a grain of salt. Now, the other ones, both Elenaro and Zavia will no longer use their combust skill if the target has no poison debuffs. This is actually, I think this is great for Elenaro because Elenaro's an okay champion. But for Zavia, there is a little bit of an issue with this, primarily in Arena, where she is a great nuker with that Deadly Catalyst skill. That's just not going to be the case anymore because you won't use it, at least not on auto. You can definitely manual it, and with your attack runs, that'll be fine. Just on defense, it's not going to be great unless you can pair her with a Poisoner, in which case it'll be fine. But that's the only issue I see with that, and I'm a little bit surprised they made that change. It's not really one of my favorite maneuvers. I think it might create some issues. So maybe they'll make an exception for for Arena, but I just doubt it. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just we're not going to see her in Arena very much, I don't think. Now, definitely not in Arena defenses. Now, the last change is to Maneater here, and it has to do with the Siphon skill. This will fully depletes the target's turn meter, and fills this champion's turn meter equal to the amount the target loses. He now will target Skavarg, the main spider, the Spider Queen in Spider Dens. When I was first doing spiders, I used Maneater all the time as turn meter reduction and to block debuffs. He was fantastic for me. This is a great change. When I used to run it, I would actually set my auto clicker to auto click the spider boss so that it would automatically click the spider boss, so he would do that Siphon skill. It would change my runs from 5 minutes to 2 minutes. It was incredibly effective, and so I'm really glad they're making this change. I think it's really good. Maneater is one of those few champions that's just fantastic in all aspects of the game. Those are the champion rebalances. I'm super excited about this. There's a lot of champions that I thought those are great changes. I think Broadmaw probably got the biggest facelift out of all of them. I really like the changes to Suwai. I really love the changes to Whirlum. I think that is huge, actually. Makes a fairly useless legendary champion into a very good legendary champion. I think that's going to be great. Visix got a really good facelift. So did Warlord. I think that change for a clan boss is really nice. So a lot of good changes in here. I'm really excited about that. I mean, honestly, I really feel like Plarium nailed it on this one. These are great champion rebalances. Yeah, that's all we got for today. So I do have that game on. I have a game on video. I was talking about video champions that are going to be good for the new dungeons, and I totally linked the wrong spider video. Just completely left it out. So I do have that link down below, so you can check that out in the comments of this video. As always, if you enjoyed this, hit that subscribe, like, and follow button. And let me know what you guys think of these rebalances. Which is the one champion you're most excited to try out? That's what I want to know from you guys. So let me know in the comments, and we can have a nice little conversation about that. Till next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.